Carmela Teoli grew up in Lawrence, Massachusetts in the 1900s. She grew up in a family of 7 where finances were tight and they often struggled to pay their bills. She grew up in a time period where slavery was long gone, so many mills relied heavily on child labor to run their facilities. Working on these mills wasn't easy. The child labor laws and restrictions were typically ignored. Most children had little food and water, unsafe working conditions, long hours, and all for barely any pay. One day, while Carmela was at her house, an unknown man knocked on their door and offered to make them a fake ID showing that Carmela was 14 instead of her actual age, 13, so she could be old enough to work. Since their family was so tight on money, they allowed him to make the ID. As soon as the ID came in the mail, she was sent to work. She worked at the Washington Mill, where working conditions were, as most other mills, very harsh. She was put to work as a dofer. A dofer is someone who takes all the full spindles of cotton and replaces them with new ones. Dofers had pretty simple work, but could be very dangerous. She worked at the height of the 1912 Lawrence, Massachusetts strike, or better known as the Bread and Roses strike. This was a strike concerning child labor held in Lawrence, Massachusetts, asking for better pay and safer working conditions. One day, during the strike, while replacing spindles, her hair got caught up in a cotton gin, and it continued to spin and kept pulling her hair, and it didn't stop until it ripped a huge gash from her scalp. She was hospitalized for 7 months and didn't get any pay. However, the owner paid her medical bills. Since she was hurt due to unsafe working conditions, she decided it would be very good to speak out about her injury. So that's what she did. She attended a court hearing regarding the Bread and Roses strike. She thought by telling the judge her story, it could open his eyes to how harsh and unsafe mills really are. She told him all about how she got into child labor, the conditions, her pay, etc. It worked. The judge was shocked and surprised to hear her story. The judge gained a new perspective on the living conditions inside of mills and worked to put an end to the strike with that in mind. She was invited to the White House soon after to tell the president her story in person and share ideas regarding better conditions. However, this did not come without any consequences. As she got back from her glory, her owner cut her pay while raising others. He didn't like that she spoke out about his mill publicly, and that she even told the president about his mill. She knew that this was going to happen, but that's what made her such a good upstander. Even though Carmela Teoli might not have been as well known as other famous upstanders, that is not to say her courage was any smaller. She spoke out about a personal story, knowing the consequences that came with it. She will always be remembered as a brave woman who fought for child labor rights.